Senator Wilson, it's a pleasure for Mr. Craig Grimm and myself, Mike Sharp, to represent North Oldham High School on behalf of teachers and Kentucky Ed Policy. It's a great opportunity to be able to sit down with you, be able to discuss Senate Bill 1, SB 1.
Sure, absolutely.
And be able to look at what the future shape of education is taking for us here in the Commonwealth. And particularly, there are a good number of, I'm sure, interested voices, stakeholders from around the Commonwealth.
Just a few.
Just a few.
For this simple little bill.
For this simple little bit.
Right.
And on behalf of Kentucky Ed Policy, there are a good number of teachers that have provided a lot of input.
Sure.
And have a lot of inquiry, have a lot of interest in looking at how this new legislation is going to impact the learning of students,
Right.
as well as set a trajectory
Sure.
for quality development in the future.
Right.
And so we're very privileged to be here and appreciate you taking time to sit down with us today.
Absolutely glad to do it.
I think one of the things we'd like to start with is maybe getting just kind of the context for the bill itself. Maybe speaking to your philosophy on the role or the degree to which Kentucky has a responsibility to meet the needs of all students, Ashland to Oldham County to Paducah to Bowling Green. And then does Senate Bill 1 meet those expectations to what degree?
Well, I think that Senate Bill 1 of 2009 was really touted as landmark legislation to align our standards with our assessments and accountability altogether, to reduce the bureaucratic burden and be more of a benefit to our educators and folks in education so that they could teach, our children. And unfortunately, with Race to the Top and No Child Left Behind and the waiver and all of that got involved, and as it did with our laws, had to be changed in order to qualify for some different things. And as a result of that and federal regulation and our commissioner and KDE, we had a mountain of overburdensome regulations and reporting, to the point that if you're in education, you well know that our teachers and administrators are filling out reports all about instructional compliance, how these standards are being taught and their activity and everything that they're doing, and putting all this stuff into SITs for every single student, and it doesn't work well. We had ESSA, which was changing all of the federal law, and as we investigated it, we were just amazed at how it was pushing things back to local control. And also with everything that was going on in our state, I said, let's go back to where we started in 2009. And instead of going outside and adopting outside standards, which I think, 90% of the teachers like those standards, and we've done a lot of training around those standards. Rather than yank everything out, let's set up a system to where we have our teachers, our boots on the ground people that are in grade and subject area, reviewing those standards, replacing them, or revising them. And as many of you know, that the old saying was that our standards were a mile wide and about an inch deep, and now they are about a half a mile wide and 2 inches deep, and probably even need some more revision. So I think it's appropriate. It's had 6 years. On average, that's about the time that you should review your standards. And the General Assembly, we felt like we had really virtually no input when we're tasked with that responsibility for oversight and policy. And the science standards we found efficient, but the governor chose to implement them by executive order. Our tests are not aligned with our standards. So I'm having to teach what's on the test, and having to teach, I know I'm supposed to teach the standards, but I've got to find out what's on that test, prepare them. So it's like you're teaching 2 curriculum. And you're filling out all these reports. And you're having all this test prep.
And in looking at, the actual skill set, I think ultimately, as much as we love our content and history and the social studies, and every teacher, whatever that person is teaching, they love their content.
No, come on, those social studies teachers, they don't love social studies. I probably had a million emails.
We're a passionate group.
Very passionate. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we have the privilege of teaching skill sets that we know students are going to need
Right.
for not only today, but for the many different twists and turns that their careers are going to take.
Yeah.
Because with every student, I mean, there will be multiple ideas and even changes about what direction that they're going to take. Once they even get to a post-secondary situation, they're going to change 2, 3, or more times before they end up with a degree.
My son did 3 things, I think.
And so being able to give them skills to maneuver in whatever direction
Yeah.
to find success in whatever field
Yeah.
is ultimately where our passion lies. And I think that's at the heart of what all of us as educators in Kentucky really desire. We want to make sure that all of us have a welcomed and equal standing place at the table, knowing
Right.
that we all are equal contributors to helping students succeed.